Hello and welcome. Today, I have something to ask you. Most religious people in this world believe that God is an angry, wrathful God. Believe that God is an angry, wrathful God. Okay, we're having some difficulties here technically. Let's see if we can help. Okay, let's start again. So most religious people in the world believe that God is an angry, wrathful, jealous being who punishes people that break his rules. Anyone who doesn't believe in him or doesn't follow his rules goes to hell and burns there forever. At the same time, they say that we are his children and he loves us. Now, according to me, there are some glaring discrepancies in these ideas, in the way God is depicted. How can God love us and if we disobey him, send us to hell to burn forever? If our kids disobeyed us, is that what we would do? Hitler was an evil tyrant who killed about 6 million Jews, most of them in gas chambers. That's sickening, utterly inhumane. But if God is going to send all non-believers, that's 6 billion of them, if you take any given religion and you remove the others, right, there would be 6 billion left out of the 8 billion on the planet today. So that's 6,000 million souls. If God is going to send 6,000 million souls to hell to burn forever, doesn't that make God an even bigger tyrant? I think the problem is not with God. The problem is with people and the stuff that they've concocted to make everybody afraid of God. See, I grew up with a very different idea of God, an unconditionally loving, eternally merciful, compassionate, and forgiving God. Someone who understood our weaknesses and gave us as many chances and lifetimes as we needed to be whatever we wanted to be, to do whatever we wanted to do, to enjoy in every possible way and take as many lifetimes to figure out that nothing of this world can make us happy or satisfy us. Now, what was the point of giving us all this freedom and all this time and all these chances? Because love cannot be forced on anyone. Love cannot be imposed. Love must be chosen. And so, if we have naturally a loving relationship with God, God can't force that love on us. You have to be given freedom to choose anything you want. And out of anything and out of everything, if you then choose God, that's a whole different thing. So we're given all this possibility until we figure out that the only thing which will truly make us blissful, fulfilled, and vibrantly alive is to hear about God's beauty, his wonderful form, name, activities, and pastimes. And that's what we've been doing here on the Bhagavatam. When we realize that God loves to dance, to play, to enjoy, to give pleasure to his loved ones, when we become enchanted by his beauty, his sweetness, and all the ways in which he protects us, keeps us safe, and fills our hearts with love for him, then the outcome is that there is no more fear. There is no need to judge anyone. There is no need to think yourself superior to anybody. In fact, a deep humility develops within us. There is no need to achieve, accomplish, or prove, or be worthy, because we're loved as we are, with all our flaws and weaknesses. And this is a thought that inspires me. How does it make you feel? Let me know in the comments. Let's get started. So, what did you think of that? Today I'm going to tell you about a beautiful song, a prayer that talks about everything we've been discussing, but we're going to go into the Leela, the pastimes of Krishna, that source of everything, that most incredible being of all. And the key questions: what does he do? What does he look like? How can I fall in love with someone I know nothing about? So here's your chance. Here's your chance to discover. So this particular song is about the pastimes we've been talking about. How Krishna would steal butter from the neighboring, families that lived in his area. Now, his father was the king of the village, and extremely, they had, wealthy. They had all the thousands of cows, tens of thousands of them, in fact, and all the butter and milk and everything that he could desire. And yet he would love to go to the neighboring neighbors and steal from them. So we're going to find out the intricacies of why he would do this, because in fact the deeper meaning is something so sweet and incredible that you would not believe it. So this particular poem, this song that we sing every year at the month of Kartik, goes like this. Namamishwaram Satchit Ananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashodhabhiyo Lukhaladhavamanam Param Drishtvam Atyanta Todrutya Gopya. So what it's saying is this: to the supreme controller, the one who controls everything, who's in charge of everything. We want to be controllers, but there is a controller who is above us, the supreme controller, God, who possesses an eternal, blissful form, Sat Chit Ananda Rupam, a form that is eternal, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. That's his transcendental, spiritual form, whose glistening earrings swing to and fro, who manifested himself in Gokul. We're going to hear more about that. We've been hearing about his birth and his activities. Who stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging from the rafters of their storerooms. So they would hang it up from the ceiling, from the rafters. And then he would go there. And when they caught him, he would quickly jump and run in retreat of the fear of his mother, Yashoda, but who was ultimately caught. And to that Supreme Lord Sri Damodar I offer my humble obeisances. So I think you'll understand from these pictures how delightful he is, and why, to me, it's so horrendous when people talk about a fearful God, when they talk about God as someone who is angry and wrathful and punishing people. It doesn't make any sense to me. This is what I grew up with. This is Krishna, the most beautiful, adorable being of all. That's him climbing on various things to steal the butter from his neighbors, and that's one of the neighbor ladies catching him in the act. Sometimes climbing on the backs or shoulders of his friends. And this is all in fun and jest. And this is where the radiance of his body and that of Balaram, their natural radiance, makes it easy for them to see even in the dark. And you might say, why would God do this? And here he is feeding the butter that the gopis have made with their hands. They've made it by hand. And he's feeding it to the monkeys. Why this mischievousness? Why these pranks? Why these kind of antics? And the answer is to give pleasure to his devotees, because he knows how much they love him. And he knows that through all of this, he's captivating their heart. With his big eyes and his beautiful smile, he's captivating their heart. So the song goes on. Rudantam muhur netra yugmam rijantam. I think I'll skip the Sanskrit. Upon seeing his mother's whipping stick, because then she's chasing him with a whipping stick. She's going to whip him, going to give him a whipping. He began to cry and rubbed his eyes again and again with his two lotus-like hands. His eyes were fearful and his breathing quick. And as Mother Yashoda bound his belly with ropes, so she tied him up, he shivered in fright and his pearl necklace shook. To this Supreme Lord Sri Damodar I offer my humble obeisances. Now he has many names. Krishna is just one of them. It means the most attractive one. But in this particular Leela or pastime, he's known as Damodar, one who gets bound up by the love of his devotees. So this is how his mother is chasing him. And he's running. And she's got a stick in her hand. And then she's caught hold of him and she's going to tie him up. And he's resisting. He's looking sad and he's about to cry. And her heart is breaking. But what does she do? She's got her household duties to do. She can't help it. Poor baby. Poor little baby. Yeah. Then it goes on. Those super excellent pastime of Sri Krishna's babyhood drowned the inhabitants of Gokul. Gokul is the town they lived in pools of ecstasy. Drowned the inhabitants of Gokul in pools of ecstasy. To the devotees who are attracted only to his majestic aspect of Narayan in Vaikuntha, that is to say, those who look on God with awe and reverence, those who think God is great and we are small, to them he reveals, I am conquered and overwhelmed by my devotees' pure, loving devotion. To the Supreme Lord Damodar, my obeisances, my respects, hundreds and hundreds of times. So when he shows himself in his majestic form as God, comes as Vishnu with 4 hands, looking regal, with a crown, with a lotus flower, with his disc and conch shell and mace. Various depictions of Vishnu. And then he came in the same form and revealed himself to his parents, his birth parents, Vasudeva and Devaki. And then he became a little baby. And then he was taken over to the home of Nanda and Yashoda so that he could be safe there. The poem continues, O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, all kinds of blessings, I do not pray to you for liberation from this world, from the cycle of birth and death, nor eternal life in the spiritual abode, what people would call heaven, but what is referred to in the Vedas as Vaikuntha. That is the place that is where we live as beings, as souls, in our spiritual form. We have a spiritual form that is not subject to birth or death or old age or disease. So I do not pray to you for liberation from this world, nor eternal life in the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, nor for any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. O Lord, I do not even want to know of your feature as the Paramatma, the super soul who sits within everyone's heart. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. So when we talk about yogis being able to see or experience God within the heart, they're able to feel him, his presence, in their meditations. But instead, he's saying, I just want to be able to meditate on your pastimes, especially in your childhood pastimes. O Lord, the cheeks of your blackish lotus face, which is encircled by locks of curling hair, have become reddened like a fruit due to Mother Yashoda's kisses. What more can I describe than this? Millions of opulences are of no use to me, but may this vision constantly remain in my mind. May this vision constantly remain in my mind. Or this vision. May we somehow be able to see him always, everywhere. What would happen then? What would happen if you could see him all the time, everywhere? This is his mother with baby Krishna. Think about it. I want you to really think. What would it be like if you could see God? O unlimited Vishnu, O Master, O Lord, be pleased upon me. I am drowning in an ocean of sorrow and am almost like a dead man, the poet writes. Please shower the rain of mercy upon me, uplift me and protect me with your nectarian vision. We're drowning, all of us, in an ocean of suffering, in an ocean of sorrow, in an ocean of struggle and strife. We all want liberation from this ocean of birth and death, and yet he says, O Damodar, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone, a mortar, with a rope that was used for tying cows. You then freed the sons of Kuver, Manigriva and Nalukuver, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into the light or into your effulgence. So let's once again contemplate this beautiful scene where Mother Yashoda is tying up Krishna to the grinding mortar. You see that look on his face, scared, afraid of his mother, bound by her love. Later on, he goes on to drag that mortar while his mother goes away. She drags that wooden grinding mortar and breaks two trees. And out of those trees come two beings who had been cursed to stand there until his arrival. They then offer their prayers and then they go back to their celestial kingdom. That's Krishna for you. All right. The poem then goes on, O Lord, the entire universe was created by Brahma, who was born from your abdomen, which was bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. And I offer my obeisances to your most beloved, so obeisances is respects, to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and to your unlimited pastimes. Now you won't get to know much about Radharani yet, but we'll get to that in a while. This is again, I offering respects to that rope that tied him up, and to Radharani, his beloved, the soul of Krishna, the soul of God. That is Radha. We'll get to know more about her. If you go to any of the temples of Krishna, you will see Radha and Krishna like this. This is the Krishna temple in Alachua. I was recently there and was just blown away by how beautiful they are. And these garlands that you see them wearing are made by hand every single day. All right. So that was the poem. And now we come to a very interesting part of the Bhagavatam, in where it says, the gopis, so the gopis are the women of the village, right? And they love Krishna. They're just completely mesmerized by them. They're in awe of him. They're just, as it is, we're so fascinated with babies. But Krishna, the Supreme Being, has now appeared as a baby. And he's the most delightful of babies you could ever imagine. But they would say, Krishna, if you dance, then I'll give you some candy. I'll give you a sweet. By saying these words or by clapping their hands, all the gopis encouraged Krishna in different ways. At such times, although he was the supremely powerful Godhead, from whose exhalation universes are manifest, and with his inhalation the entire cosmos is destroyed, yet he had appeared as a little child to captivate the hearts and minds of his loved ones. So when they requested him to dance and offered him some sweet or candy, he would dance. He would dance for them. Like that. Like that. He would dance in the most beautiful of ways. Baby Krishna dancing. Because he was captivated by their love. Because he was controlled, under their control by their love. That's how powerful love can be. When it is unconditional. Because they wanted nothing but him. They wanted only him. He was their everything. He was their life and soul. Without him, their life had no meaning. Without him, they had no purpose other than to love him. He would smile and dance according to their desire as if he were a wooden doll in their hands. Sometimes he would sing very loudly at their bidding. In this way, Krishna became completely under the control of the residents of Vrindavan, of Gokul, of the gopis. Sometimes Mother Yashoda and her gopi friends would tell Krishna, bring this or bring that, perhaps a pair of shoes or a pot. Krishna, when ordered by his mother in this way, would try to bring those things that she wanted. And at times he would act as if he was unable to lift these things. He who could lift entire planets would act as if he could not lift up a simple pot or a pair of shoes. He would then touch the thing and then stand there. He would strike his body with his arms and show that he had sufficient strength, and everyone would be amused. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, thus exhibited how much he is subdued by his devotees. In this way, he increased their pleasure by his childhood activities. So I really want you to contemplate this point. God is subdued by the love of his devotees. Think about it. The same thing happens even if someone was the president of a country, or was a judge, or was a powerful person. When they come across their babies, they have that same experience. Right? Have you had that experience? When you came across a baby, your baby particularly, if it was. All right, so there's another little story here. Once a woman was selling fruit, and she was calling out, "Oh, Brijvasis, oh, people of Vrindavan, if you want to purchase some fruits, come here, come here. I've got some lovely fruit for you." Upon hearing this, Krishna immediately took some grains to barter them for fruits. So what did he do? He went inside the house, he saw some grains, perhaps rice or wheat, and he picked it up in his hand. And he came running out towards the fruit seller. And on his way, because he couldn't hold it, he was small, he was a young little, barely walking baby, he was spilling all the grains as he was holding them in his fist. He kept dropping the grains. And by the time he reached the fruit vendor, there might have been just 3 or 4 little grains there of rice or wheat, whatever he was holding. And then he gave them to her, and he wanted some fruit. And the fruit vendor filled Krishna's hands with fruits. Let me show you a picture of that. And that's her. And you can see her basket. He filled it up with jewels. With jewels. And there she is loading him up with fruit. She didn't know he'd given her anything. He just gave her those few grains. And she loaded him up with all the fruit she could. And then when she looked into her basket, it was filled with jewels and gold. Once Rohini, So Balaram is Krishna's brother. Once Rohini went to call Balaram and Krishna, who had both gone to the riverside and were playing with the other boys. Because of being too attached to playing, Krishna and Balaram did not return on being called. Then Rohini sent Mother Yashoda, Krishna's mother, to bring them because Yashoda was more affectionate. When Mother Yashoda asked them to come back for lunch, because of her ecstatic love and affection, milk flowed from her breasts. Yashoda said, "My dear son, Krishna, O lotus-eyed Krishna, come here and drink the milk of my breast. My dear darling, you must be very tired because of hunger and the fatigue of playing for so long. There's no need to play anymore. My dear Balaram," Krishna's brother, "best of our family, please come immediately." Balaram was older. "Come with your brother Krishna. You both ate in the morning, and now after playing you must eat some more. Your father is waiting for you. Come home now, and all the other boys go to their homes." She then told Krishna, "My dear son, because of playing all day, your body has become covered with dust and sand. Let me give you a bath. Today the moon is conjoined with the auspicious star of your birth. Therefore be pure and give cows in charity to the Brahmins. Just see how all your friends have been cleansed and decorated with beautiful ornaments by their mothers. After your bath and lunch, I will dress you in nice clothes and ornaments. Then you may return and play with your friends again." Because of intense love and affection, Mother Yashoda considered Krishna to be her son. She then took Krishna and Balaram by the hand and brought them home. I really want you to contemplate this idea of motherly love for God. This is called Vatsalya Ras. We talked about it in an earlier episode where there are different ways of loving God. One is in a more adoring and passive way, just to look and just be fascinated and feel this intense ecstasy of love. The other is to want to serve, like Hanuman serves Ram. The third way is to love Krishna or God as your child. Not just your father, but as your child. Because he'll take any form you want. He'll be whatever it is you want him to be, so that you can revive a relationship of love with him. Because that's what he's seeking with us, with all of us. A relationship, a connection of love. Why does he want that? Because that's the natural relationship that we already have. Just like you have a relationship with your parents. You might run and go away from home. You might leave them behind. But if they are loving parents, if they care about you, then somewhere you're always going to remember that. That love is going to always be in your heart. And that love will keep you coming back home. Some people might come from a place of obligation, but if they had a truly loving home, they'll be coming back. And this is how it is with God, because we have an eternal, loving relationship with Him. And that loving relationship keeps us coming back. Now, we'll move to a little different aspect of this story. One day, the elder persons of the village of Gokul, headed by King Nanda, assembled and began to consider what to do to stop the continuous disturbing situations that had been occurring in Vraj, in Vrindavan, or rather in Gokul. Vraj is the general area. At this meeting, a cowherd man named Upananda, who was the most mature in age and knowledge and was very experienced, he suggested, "My dear friends, we should leave this place, Gokul, because so many disturbances are always occurring here, just for the purpose of killing Ram and Krishna, Balaram and Krishna." So there seems to be some energy here, something here that is trying to attack Balaram and Krishna. By the mercy of God, see, they don't know that Krishna is the supreme being or God. They just think of him as an ordinary, adorable, cute, lovable child. But they're thinking by the mercy of God, Krishna somehow or other was rescued from the hands of the Rakshasi Putana who was determined to kill him. Then again, by the mercy of God, the handcart missed falling upon the child. Then again, the demon Trinavarta in the form of a whirlwind tornado took baby Krishna away into the sky to kill him. But the demon fell down onto a slab of stone. In that case, by the mercy of Vishnu, the child was saved. So these different things that were there that he's talking about are parts of the narrative that we've already gone through. But just to refresh your mind, this is Putana, the demoness who came along as a beautiful woman, walked into the house of Nanda and Yashoda, took baby Krishna into her lap and tried to feed him her milk. Her nipple was poisoned and she was trying to kill him. Why were they trying to kill Krishna? Because they had found out that he is the one who was going to kill the king Kans when he grows up. So he wanted him to be killed while he's still a baby. So Kans had sent out these various asuras. They had mystical powers with which they could take any form that they liked. After Krishna sucked out all the poison and sucked out her life air, her true form was revealed. Later on, there was a time where there was a ceremony going on and Krishna was lying outside under a cart. His mother had kept him there. And at that time again, there was this asura, this demon who tried to attack the baby. And Krishna just kicked the cart and the whole cart broke. And the asura was killed in the process. Then there was one called Srinavarta. He came and picked up baby Krishna and took him up into the sky like a tornado. And Krishna just squeezed his neck so tight that the asura just came crashing down. And everyone thought, oh, it's by the grace of God. But they didn't know that Krishna had these miraculous powers, that he was the Supreme Being himself, and that no one and nothing could kill him. So, I mean, you may say, oh, I believe, I don't believe. That's not the point. Consider for a moment, what if God could take a form? And if that was his original spiritual form, and if he then appeared in the world, and then at that time performed these kind of pastimes or lila to attract us. Because why else would you want to go to God unless there was something attractive or beautiful? I mean, we go to what is attractive. When we fall in love with someone, it's because we find them attractive. And so it is with God. That's why his name is Krishna, the all-attractive one. And so he, through these pastimes, some of them sweet and some of them mischievous and some of them where he's killing demons, he attracts us. And why would something like this attract us? I had a mother raise this question. She said, well, I don't want my baby to listen to these stories of demons being killed by Krishna. And I said, first of all, you got to remember, even when my daughter was 3 years old, she loved watching Ghostbusters and things like that. Because kids are fascinated by stuff like this. So when it's connected with God, it has a whole different significance. B, it's about learning how God protects us and is there for us. This world, whether you understand it or not, there are all kinds of forces and energies. We may think that with our logical minds, with our scientific minds, that no such thing is possible, but just as there are beings of light, there are beings of darkness. And I don't mean to do this from a place of fear. It's just being able to recognize the nature of this world. Much of mental disease is people being attacked by their mind. What attacks their mind? Something, some energy, whether you want to call it an energy, a virus, or whatever else it is, something attacks people's minds. They then do crazy and foolish things, such as going out and shooting out all the kids in a school, or attacking other people in heinous ways, or becoming some kind of a Hitler or some kind of a tyrant. Why do beautiful souls in these bodies do such crazy things? You tell me. If all of us are beings of light, if all of us are spiritual beings, if all of us are particles of the divine, why do some beings do absolutely horrific things? It makes no sense. Unless, just as there are beings of light, and just as there are beings who are highly evolved and spiritual, there are also beings of darkness. And they operate in certain ways and they attack people's minds, and those people then do crazy things. In any case, we're now learning about how Krishna is protecting his loved ones, his devotees, from any such beings. Of course, they're attacking him directly, and he's just playing with them, knocking them out, killing them left, right, and center. So the point is that the residents of the town that he lived in, the village that he lived in, became very afraid. And they're discussing what to do. They said that all these incidents are being caused by some unknown demon. Therefore, before he comes here to create another disturbance, it is our duty to go somewhere else with the boys until there is no more disturbance. So now they're deciding to move town, go to another place. This elderly person says to them, his name is Upananda, and he says to the village people, he says, there is a town here between Nandeshwar and Mahavan. There's a place called Vrindavan. This place is very suitable because it is lush with grass, plants, and creepers for the cows and other animals. It has nice gardens and tall mountains and is full of facilities for the happiness of all our people and animals. Now, I've been to Vrindavan. Vrindavan exists even right now. It is a small town full of hundreds of temples. They say there's like 5,000 temples. And that was some years ago. I don't know what the situation is now. That place is imbued with spiritual energy. When you go there, that vibration, that energy there is so different than any place you've been to. Of course, unfortunately, now it's being flooded by people from the city coming there. It wasn't so when I first started going there in the 80s and in the 90s. It was peaceful and beautiful. You could walk barefoot everywhere. It was the ground was like with sand, and so it was soft and beautiful. Now people are flocking there like crazy. And I'm glad that they're coming to Krishna like that, but they've made the place quite chaotic. But this is a time when Krishna was here 5,000 years ago. Well, actually 7,000 years ago is the closest estimate we get now. So Upananda is saying we should go today. There is no need to wait any further. If you agree to my proposal, let us prepare all the bullock carts and cows and let us go immediately. The cowherdmen, everybody unanimously agreed. They sorted out their household affairs, placed their clothing and other paraphernalia on the carts, and immediately started for Vrindavan. So clearly they didn't have tons of furniture and stuff like that. They didn't have homes like we have right now. They kept it pretty simple. Keeping all the old men, women, children, and household paraphernalia on the bullock carts and keeping all the cows in front of them, the cowherd men picked up their bows and arrows, blew on their bugles, and began their journey. They were simple village people. The cowherd women were dressed very nicely with excellent garments. As they were riding on the bullock carts, they began to narrate with great pleasure the pastimes of Krishna. Krishna's mother, Yashoda, and Balaram's mother, Rohini, sat with Krishna and Balaram so as not to be separated from them for even a moment. All of them looked very beautiful. Soon they entered Vrindavan, where it is always pleasing to live in all seasons. They made a temporary place to inhabit by placing their bullock carts all around in the shape of a half moon. When Balaram and Krishna saw Vrindavan, Govardhan, and the banks of the river Yamuna, they enjoyed great pleasure. Now, this land of Vrindavan, or Brajamandal as it's called, actually theoretically covers a space of 325 square kilometers or 1,453 square miles. Well, the actual Vrindavan you see now is much smaller than that. It's one of the 12 beautiful forests that are in this area. And it's the land where the river Yamuna flows. The river Yamuna, along with the Ganga, all flow sort of in parallel towards the ocean. One of these forests out of the 12 is called Vrindavan. It is the land where Krishna performs his childhood pastimes and is considered to be the manifestation of the spiritual world and is the eternal abode of Krishna. You feel that. You feel that energy when you're there. Brahma, the creator of the universe, sings the glories of Vrindavan in the Brahma Samhita, where he says, I worship that supreme abode of Vrindavan, where the supreme being, Sri Krishna, is the only lover, where the gopis are his beloveds, where every tree and creeper is a transcendental desire tree. A desire tree is a tree where you can, whatever you desire, it will give you. Where the earth is made of spiritual touchstones and the water is nectar, where speech is like melodious song and movements are like dance, where great divine oceans of milk continually flow from the udders of uncountable Surabhi cows, and where transcendental time is eternal, without past, present, or future, so that even half a moment feels like eternity. In this material world, only rare saintly personalities can understand the nature of this abode. So this was written by Brahma millions of years ago, I guess. So acting like small boys and talking in half-broken language, Krishna and Balaram gave transcendental pleasure to everyone. In course of time, they became older, and they soon were able to take care of the small calves along with the other cowherd boys. Sometimes Krishna and Balaram would play on their flutes, and sometimes they would throw ropes and stones devised for getting fruits from the trees. So they, take a rope and tie it to a stone and throw it. Sometimes they would throw only stones, and sometimes their ankle bells tinkling, they would play football with the fruits. Sometimes they would cover themselves with blankets and imitate cows and bulls and fight with one another, roaring loudly. Arr! Sometimes they would imitate the sounds of the animals. In this way, they enjoyed sporting exactly like two ordinary human children. One day, while Balaram and Krishna, along with their playmates, were tending the calves on the bank of the river Yamuna, another demon showed up there desiring to kill them. This demon took the form of a calf and entered among the other calves. So remember, they were taking the calves out now. There's a scene here. That's Krishna and Balaram taking the calves out into pasture. So now this new demon came along and he pretended to be a calf. And that's Krishna twirling him around. I have a, let me get that ready for you. So, yeah, Krishna pointed out to Balaram that here's another demon. And then he very slowly approached the demon and caught him by the hind legs and tail and twirled his body very rapidly till the demon was dead. He then threw him on top of a tree, which fell down along with the body of the demon, who then assumed a great form. I've got a video here. Let me see if I can play it for you. I had some difficulty trying to get the clip to be exactly where I wanted it to be, but let's see. All right. Anyway, this was a little children's cartoon that had been made by someone. There's a whole lot of these, actually. You'll find them. It's called Little Krishna. You'll find all these kind of cartoons on the, or on YouTube. You'll find them. Little Krishna. Just look for it. You'll find them there. Upon seeing the dead body of the demon, all the cowherd boys exclaimed, "Well done, Krishna, well done." And so they were all so thrilled. They were, relieved. They were thrilled, and and at that point, all the devas, the demigods, began showering flowers on Krishna from the heavenly planets. Later, Krishna and Balaram, the supreme personalities of Godhead who maintained the entire creation, finished their breakfast and continued to take care of the calves as if they were regular cowherd boys. One day, all the boys, including Krishna and Balaram, took their calves to a lake. The boys and the calves drank water there. Nearby, they saw a gigantic body of a huge living being. It looked like a mountain. That huge bodied demon was named Bakasura. He had assumed the body of a duck with a very sharp beak. Now, they were taking on these different forms so as to try to sneak up on Krishna and try to kill him. When Krishna got close to that demon who was in the shape of a duck, he swallowed up Krishna. He swallowed him up. When Balaram and the other boys saw that Krishna had been devoured by the gigantic duck, they became almost unconscious and lifeless. At this point, Krishna became like a fire burning in the demon's throat. He started burning him from the inside, and the demon Bakasura immediately disgorged him, threw him out. When he saw that Krishna was unharmed, he immediately attacked Krishna again with his sharp beak. Krishna then endeavored to attack him with his arms. He captured the demon by the two halves of the beak, and in the presence of all the cowherd boys, very easily, taking the two halves of the beak, just bifurcated him as a child splits a blade of grass. Different depictions here. Once again, the denizens of the heavenly planets were very pleased and showered flowers upon Krishna. They sounded celestial kettle drums and conch shells and offered prayers. Seeing this, the cowherd boys were struck with wonder. When Krishna was freed from this danger, all the boys, including Balaram, felt that their life had been restored. They embraced Krishna, and then they collected their own calves and returned to Brajabhumi, to Vrindavan, where they told everyone about the incident. When the cowherd men and women heard about what had happened in the forest, they were very much astonished. They received Krishna very eagerly, thinking that he and the boys had returned from the mouth of death. They were greatly relieved that the boys were safe. The cowherd men, headed by Nanda, began to contemplate. It is very astonishing that although this boy Krishna has many times faced demons who came to kill him, by the grace of God, all these fierce demons were killed exactly like flies, attacking a fire, and were unable to harm Krishna. It is very wonderful that whatever the great sage Garga Muni had predicted, is actually happening in reality. The words of saintly persons never come untrue. The residents of Vrindavan thus enjoyed the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram with great transcendental pleasure and became free from material tribulations. Krishna and Balaram passed their childhood in Vrindavan, engaged in activities of childish play such as hide and seek, constructing make-believe bridges on an ocean, and jumping here and there like monkeys. All right, so with that, we wind up the narrative for today. I'd love to know if there's any questions. If you've got something you'd like to share, please write it in the comments. It's so lovely to have all of you here. Clarity, so nice to have you here. I have Ray over here. There's folks on YouTube. If you've got any questions, just say hi, if nothing else. It's nice to know that you're here. And if you have a question, write it down. I'll be happy to answer. Anything at all? Oh, thank you. Love you too. there don't seem to be any questions, so we'll wind up for today. Remember that we're here every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. And if you're in India, then it'll be Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. Look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll continue the pastimes of Krishna. See you then.